Hi. Everybody, the movie begins with a girl known as Mel crawling out of a grave when a mysterious figure with a pickaxe shows up. She begs the figure to spare her, but he ends up killing her. In the present, we see 5 friends in their car on a road trip. One of them is Mel's sister Clover. It turns out that they all decided to come look for her where she was last seen. When they get to the store where Mel made her last video to her sister telling her how much she missed their dead mom and wanted to leave the house so she can recover from the loss, Megan, who has some sort of psychic power, asks all of them to join hands so they can tap into their residual energy. When they hold hands and it seems like they're about to gain some clarity, they are interrupted by the horn from a truck. Clover then goes into the store, and Max wants to join her, but Nina tells him to give her some space. As it turns out that Clover and Max were dating but eventually broke up. Clover shows the cashier the picture of her sister to see if he has come in contact with her before. He tells her she's gone missing, pointing out that Clover is not the first person to come to the store to look for someone. He adds that people who go further into the town to a place known as Glore Valley never return, and that's where a lot of people get into trouble. Outside the store, Abe, Nina's boyfriend, asks the group that he thought this journey was supposed to be about retracing Mel's final journey, but it turns out Clover really wants them to go look for her missing sister. He warns that things like this always end up with them getting into trouble. Minutes later, Clover comes back to tell them that she knows where Mel went missing. The group then drives through stormy weather into some shady woods. They've been turning in circles ever since, and Nina thinks they should go back, but Abe refuses as they keep arguing. They suddenly find themselves in a yard with clear weather in a dark cloud formation with a house around the corner. After looking around for a while, the group decides to check out the building. Clover stays behind to observe the surroundings, stunned by the demarcation of the stormy weather on one side and the dry weather on her side. Max stays behind to wait for her. Meanwhile, Abe, Nina, and Megan start to inspect the house where they find old stuff from the 90s like a sand timer mounted on the wall. Looking at a table, Nina finds a registry book and writes her name in it. When she starts flipping it over, she finds people's names written in it, including Mel's name. She's shocked to see this, meaning that Mel must have been here. Looking further, she discovers that Mel's writing was normal until the last few words, which start to look like scribbles at the end. Abe takes out his phone to start filming. When he enters another room, he finds a poster mounted on a wall containing pictures of missing people over the years, including a poster of Mel. Outside the house, Clover sees a figure that looks exactly like her missing sister, Mel, and goes into the storm to look for her. As the night begins to draw closer, Max is able to reach Clover and drags her back to himself. When the group is finally together, they try to understand the weird things around them. Nina notices the sand timer has turned on its head and is starting to count. A banging noise can be heard coming from outside. When they go to check it out, they're shocked to see that their car isn't where they parked it earlier and has been moved to the stormy side of the compound. Scared that this may be bad, they hurriedly rush back inside. Since their phone signal isn't working, Clover suggests looking for a way to contact the outside world. Nina and Abe decide to stay at the window to keep an eye on the figure messing with their car, while Max, Clover, and Megan find a basement. Since the lights in the building aren't steady, Megan uses her phone as a flashlight. Clover finds the landline and tries it, but it doesn't work. Megan finds an old model radio and starts to see if it works, only to hear some screeching noises and static. Back with Nina and Abe, they hear a bang in one of the rooms, and Abe decides to check it out. It's been minutes and Abe hasn't returned yet, so Annie decides to go and check on him. Seeing that the room is dark, Nina decides to turn on the light. To her shock, a horrible figure has cut her boyfriend in half. Her scream is heard by the other group, so Max decides to find out what the problem is himself. Upon getting there, he's horrified to find the figure in Nina's lifeless body, so he runs back to warn the others to hide. While hiding, the figure passes behind them. Max sees an opportunity to strike, so he grabs a chair, sneaks up behind it, and smacks it, but there isn't any damage. He grabs the pieces to stab it only for the figure to grab the wooden object and poke him through the eye as he falls dead. The figure finds Megan hiding in a closet and drags her out and starts to smash her face multiple times on the floor. Clover comes out of hiding and stabs the masked figure with a knife, but this doesn't do any damage. She runs out of the building into the woods where she finds another figure that looks exactly like her sister. This distraction gives the other figure the opportunity to easily impale her from behind, and she falls down to her death. The countdown is complete and the Sandman is starting to restart, and everyone begins to return to the exact moment that triggered the events that just occurred, with everyone still bearing the scars from where they were killed or injured. They remember what happened to them, and in the room with the missing people's poster, the group pictures have now appeared as a fresh poster of the new missing individuals. Megan's psychic abilities start to kick in, so she tells the group she can feel the energy of the dark force getting stronger. Abe thinks it's best to find their way out of the building and leave this haunted place, but Nina rejects the idea of leaving the house because the masked figure might be out there. She reminds them that they were all murdered just 10 minutes ago and that her name has already appeared twice on that registry book, just like Mel's, meaning the night is just on a loop and repeating itself. The lights begin to flicker and a loud slamming of a door can be heard. When the group checks, there's no one there, but the door keeps opening and closing on its own. Abe holds the door closed, and Max uses an object to hold the doorknob. Seconds later, Mel's voice can be heard crying for help outside the building. Clover hears this and desperately wants to save her sister, but the group reminds her that this might be a trap. Ignoring their police not to go outside, she goes out and doesn't find her sister. Not only that, a mysterious building is now sitting opposite them. Suddenly, a strong force pulls Clover towards the opposite house while it pushes the others into the current building and shuts the door in front of them. Max wants to go and save his ex, but Abe holds him back, telling him to use his senses. Going out there would mean getting the same fate as Clover. He asks Max if he's just trying to cling on to Clover to see if he can get back with her again. This angers both Max and Nina, who is upset with her boyfriend for making such a comment. Clover wakes up inside the shady home to find some eerie-looking masks, and around the corner an old lady is seen breathing with the aid of an ambulatory tank, listening to a news broadcast about a disaster that occurred in that town. Clover tries to leave the house, but the door appears to be locked. The old lady approaches her, and Clover begs to be let out. The old lady tells her that the only way to make it out is to survive the night or become a part of it. She then grabs Clover to suffocate her with her mask, possessing Clover while the old lady slowly starts to disintegrate. Abe and Nina make it to their car, ready to leave the town, only for their way to be blocked by a giant monstrosity. With no choice, Abe reverses the car. As soon as they try to leave the car, the door appears to be shut without any way of opening it, and the masked figure appears in front of them to kill the duo. Max makes it inside the shady building where he finds different types of toys with a chair swinging on its own. After making sure it's just the wind moving it, he turns around only to get slashed by Clover, who's now wearing a mask. When she walks outside, she gets rammed by the masked man with Abe's Jeep. The time restarts again and everyone returns to the significant moment where everything started. The only difference is the water tank that is seen but wasn't there before. Realizing the mistake they made that caused their previous deaths, the group shuts down all the doors and hides inside one of the bathrooms. Thirsty, Abe grabs a cup and takes water from the tap, asking if anyone would like to drink. Everyone raises their hands. Clover shares what the old lady told her before their previous deaths, saying they need to survive through the night. Max suggests that maybe all they have to do is just not die until dawn, and if they don't make it, they might get stuck here forever as part of the night horrors. Abe begins to cough his guts out while the group tries to make plans on how to survive. He tries hiding the blood on the curtains, but things take a dark turn when he starts to cough uncontrollably until he explodes with his guts spilling into Nina's mouth. She tries to wash it off, but Megan stops her, pointing out that it's the water that caused it, and at that moment Nina also explodes instantly, realizing that they all drank the water and would meet the same fate. The group rushes out of the bathroom to the living room. Meg starts to cough just like the others, and she's met with the same fate. Clover begs Max that she doesn't want to go through the same thing as the others and pleads with him to choke her to death so they can come back and come up with a plan. Since the registry shows many people with repeated signatures, it means they came back. Max can't bring himself to do such a thing, and he explodes right in front of Clover. A man walks into the room, and it turns out to be the cashier from the store earlier. He tells Clover that she almost made it and that she can't survive by sitting still, and her head explodes almost immediately. Once everyone is dead and the timer is up, everything restarts all over again. Megan notices she's growing an extra tooth. Clover points out that waiting for the timer to count down doesn't work, so they start digging around to find something to help them make a plan. Clover finds different IDs of the store owner who's known as Dr. Hill and was once a chief psychiatrist in this town. Abe finds a newspaper containing the news of a mining disaster that happened in Gore Valley 20 years ago. According to the report, the disaster was caused by miners boring too deep into the earth, resulting in the death of over 1,000 people. A trauma specialist, Dr. Hill, was brought in to help the townspeople who survived to overcome their trauma. Realizing that the town was buried during the disaster, Nina sees a door and thinks maybe it's a way out. However, when she opens it, she sees a pathway that looks very scary, so they decide to find another way out. Megan thinks whoever is behind what they're going through wants to keep them afraid. Max finds a VHS tape, and when he plays the recording, they can see a man inside what appears to be a lab begging to be let out. The doctor overseeing the experiment explains that the patient is showing signs of starvation and muscle atrophy, but most importantly, intense fear and anxiety, feelings of hopelessness and utter despair. The drive adds that the trauma of the mining disaster still lingers, affecting both survivors and visitors. The longer they are trapped, the more desperate they become, turning them into monsters known as Wendigos. The radio in the room starts to work now, and Hill tells them that there's a way out, but they have to pay a price. One of them has to die in order for the rest to make it out of Gore Valley. Clover refuses to sacrifice any of her friends. Determined to find another way out, she finds a map of the town and points out where the doctor must be hiding. Clover tells Hill that she wants to see him face to face, and he agrees, but only Clover has to come alone. Abe thinks it's a good idea since they only have 4 nights remaining. All the other signatures on the registry didn't make it past 13 signatures, so they need to take the shot. Clover agrees to meet with Hill, who reveals that he's in the woods with her sister. Hearing this, Clover is ever determined to find the doctor. The others try to stop her from leaving except Abe. Abe points out that they can't keep dying over and over again. And if meeting the doctor would end the cycle, so be it. Besides, Clover has tried killing herself 2 times this year. While talking, Nina impales Abe with a pickaxe as a punishment for convincing Clover to go look for her sister in the woods. She tells Megan and Max to go look for Clover while she stays behind with her boyfriend. Clover is wandering inside the woods when she's caught in a trap. She tries to take it off only to get dragged into the dark shadow in front of her. Meanwhile, Megan and Max are already inside the woods with a flashlight looking for Clover when some goof falls on Megan's shirt. Looking up, they're horrified to find a Wendigo, so they start running toward the house. Unfortunately, Megan trips and falls on a glass. Underneath is a buried house. With every movement, the glass keeps breaking. Max grabs her hands to pull her over, only for the Wendigo to jump on Megan, both falling into the underground building as the creature drags Megan's body into the shadow. Max manages to find Clover still alive but trapped. Mel appears from the shadows as a Wendigo. Before it can attack them, Max quickly grabs a mousetrap to use on Mel's face. This buys them enough time to run further into the woods to hide. Clover begs Max to enter this time, promising that they will return to fix things better. Max reluctantly agrees and slashes her. Now left alone, Max drinks some water droplets and explodes in front of Mel. Just as Clover wakes up to another cycle, Abe is starting to feel something on his back, and when he shows the others, it appears he's mutating. To calm him, they tell him he's fine. Clover asks how long they've been there, and Max guesses maybe it's 4 nights, but Nina confirms it's been 13 nights. She tells her to check the registry book, and because nobody has ever made it past 13 nights, the group must try to survive this night if they want to make it out of the town alive. When Clover opens the window, they see entirely gloomy houses that weren't there before, noting that they don't remember what happened last time and the time after that. Meg appears to be missing and no one remembers anything except Abe, who remembers he had been recording with his phone ever since. He plays some of the videos for the group. A claw is seen wriggling on Clover's face, and when she turns around, her face has become that of a monster. A couple of other recordings show how they all died. The last recording is of Megan, who decided to follow Dr. Hill to find out if she can see what he's hiding and maybe find a way to get out of this place. A siren wailing can be heard outside, and when they look out through the window, they see some Wendigos making their way into their building. The group decides to grab some weapons and look for Megan, which means they have to go through the doorway they were scared of entering before. It turns out the walkway is a tunnel that leads to the sunken village that was talked about. The group makes it into one of the buildings and finds a Wendigo scouring through some remains in order not to attract any attention to themselves. The group has to stop moving and wait for it to leave. Unfortunately, one finds them, so Clover traps its leg with a pickaxe, and now the group can run to safety. Inside the room, the masked figure bursts in through the roof, and the creature tries to attack Clover. Max tells her to go find Megan while he distracts it. Max attacks the creature, and they work together to bring it down, finishing it off with a huge hammer to the skull. On the other hand, Clover is attacked by Mel, but she's finally come to terms with reality and pushes her onto an iron on the floor, killing her instantly. Clover finds Megan trapped in a lab with a Wendigo chained opposite her. Clover goes to the room to find the key to the door only for Dr. Hill to close the door behind her. Look through her file that was left on his table. Dr. Hill tells Clover that she's been an intriguing patient as she suffers from severe depression, extreme anxiety, and 2 failed suicide attempts. He explains that every monster she has encountered in this valley has been a manifestation of her own fears. While talking, he backs Clover into a corner, giving her the chance to place his coffee mug under a leaking water pipe. She puts it back in position for him to drink while all this is going on. Abe, Nina, and Max are being chased by a herd of Wendigos, and Megan is terrified as the creature in front of her is about to break loose. After drinking his coffee, a few seconds later, Dr. Hill starts to feel unwell. Realizing what just happened, he tries to attack Clover, but she pushes him farther away from herself, and he explodes. Clover is able to grab the key and rescues Megan at the last minute before the Wendigo gets loose. Together, they make it out and immediately shut the door behind them. This is far from over, as other creatures are now chasing after them. With time almost running out, the duo finds an opening and runs toward it. Max and the others are able to find them in time and drag them out of the hole as the time runs out, but this time it doesn't restart and the sky appears to be normal again. The once never-ending storm eventually stops. Abe is already in his car, asking the group to get in so they can leave immediately. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.